Okay. Good morning. Good morning. I hope everyone is doing well today. Let's see if I can get my camera correct here. All right. Happy Wednesday. Um, we'll just wait one more minute while people start getting on here. So we have an exciting webinar planned for today. We're going to go through how to edit banners, cards, photos for your websites. We're going to talk a little bit about cropping, sizing, placing, the different kinds of techniques that are out there and available. And I hope that it will be inspirational for you as you continue to edit your websites. There are some great tools out there, and I just wanted to be able to share those with you and some little tips and tricks on when to know how to do what in regards to your images. So when I share my screen, unfortunately, I'm missing out on chat and things. So let me see if I can get that up here just a second. Excellent. I think I've got it now. Is it okay? Are you all able to hear me okay? Like, can someone put a yes in the chat? I just want to make sure you're all good. Maybe. Are you guys able to like use the chat? Let's see. Here we go. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, let's get started. And it looks like we have a siren test outside, so perfect timing. Maybe you can't hear it. I hope you can't. This is going to be real fast, so please know that this is recorded. It will be up later. Some of the things I would like to spend a little more time on, but for the sake of keeping it quick and within around 20 minutes, I want to make sure to cover a lot of things. So the agenda for today, we're going to walk through. This is my own little take on IPDE. If you remember driver's ed, identify, predict, determine, and execute, we're going to use that same principle for images. And resizing images, we'll look at how to do that. One thing that I like to do is resize images to at least 2000, or at most the max of 2000 pixels on the longest side. That just makes me feel better. Like if I have a whole, a bank of images I'm trying to collect, it just makes me feel better that I'm not going to accidentally upload a 5,000 pixel size image to the website. Also, we're going to prepare an image by 3 different ways. So non-specified size, which is if you just want to, for example, place an image on a page that goes along with some of the content that you're creating, that would be a specified sized image. So you just want to make sure that it's not huge, and you can place it on the website and scale it there. So that's the first option. Second, you might actually add images that are automatically sized for you. So for example, when you upload a profile picture on your people profiles, those are going to automatically be sized. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to prepare an image that will be automatically resized. And then also for specific sized images. Generally, this occurs most with banners, so we're going to walk through how to do that with a banner. So as I mentioned, we're going to start off with IPDE, identify, predict, determine, and execute. So how does this driving method have anything to do with images? Let's find out. First, we want to identify images that will work with our content. So let's say we have an article that has to do with pets, and you can go to different websites, and that's a whole nother topic on how and where to find images, but we're going to use these little cats and dogs for right now. We've got as you can see, some horizontal images, some vertical images. We've got a yawning cat, which is cute. We have a dog, which is really cute in the middle. And this is just identifying options. So this is the fun part where you get to choose pictures that might work for your story. Next, we want to predict which images will actually work the best for your story. They're all really cute, but which ones are going to work the best for the content that you're creating and draw the most engagement, most likely from your audience. So some things to pay attention to are the size. If it's a horizontal image and we want to, let's say, place it in the right side of our text paragraphs, it might be a little small, so maybe a vertical image would look a little bit better in this case. And so you can sort of mentally decide maybe how you would crop the image and what it would look like. Next, you're going to actually determine which one of these images you really want to use. So in this case, for the sake of example, we're going to choose this puppy. Once you choose the puppy, you can crop him a little bit if you want to just adjust him, and then you can place him on your website. And so it's a pretty, I wanted to share this as a concept, not necessarily as a how-to, so that's why we're not into the how-tos yet. We're going to get into that next. Next, we're going to look at how to resize your image where the max is at least 2000, or at max is 2000 pixels. I have some video clips here which show how to do, this one shows how to do the resize in preview, which is on Mac. So as you can see, we have two options. There's the width and height. The height was the tallest option, so that's what we changed to 2000. We also make sure that both the height and width change proportionally. So you can see in the next option that's horizontal, and we go to adjust the size, see how there's the lock and the width and height are locked, so it will automatically adjust. So in that case, the width was the longest, and so we changed the width to 2000 pixels. This is just a way that, again, it's a little bit of a safety net that I like to do, because if I'm going to make a banner image out of something, I know that 2000 pixels roughly is plenty big. And if I need to make it smaller or resize it later, that's fine. But I just don't want to accidentally upload a 5000 pixel sized image to the website and cause it to be a little slower than necessary. So this is just looping for that. Here we're going to talk about some examples where we have non-specified sized images. So this can happen in a couple different ways. So in the right, or on the left side here, you can see that in the middle, we have the CARES Pre-Awards support team. We have a picture for AES, and we have a map. You can see they look similar in size, but they're actually just scaled to the size of the content width. However, the image itself does not need to be a specific size. So we're not going to say you have to have an image size of 500 pixels by 300 pixels or anything specific. It's just going to work for the space that it's added to. The option on the right, or the example on the right, shows where we've inserted a picture of a tree, and again, it's not a specified size. We're not specifically saying that this image has to be, 500 pixels by 800 pixels or anything specific. It's just, we want to make sure that it's reasonably sized so that you're not, again, uploading a very large image that usually from a really good camera will give you to the website. So to prepare an image for a non-specified sized page, you'll want to use the IPDE method to find the image that you want to use, and then make sure that it's at least, again, no greater, I keep saying at least, but I want to say the max is 2000 pixels. So make sure that the max is 2000 pixels. And then when you're adding it to your text area, a good rule of thumb for me is 500 pixels on the longest side. You could go, you know, I guess the range would be 500 to 800. I said 500 because a lot of folks like to know, like, what size should it be? So if you need a size, I'm telling you 500 on the longest, or on the like width, I guess is the best way to say it, which is what it mostly turns out to be for those images. But just make sure that, you know, you're in that safe zone of 2000 pixels or less. Next, we're going to talk about automatically sized images. So these are images that you upload to the website. For example, as a profile picture, we're going to automatically resize it to a specific size. So the website is going to automatically scale and crop the image to fit a specific size. You don't necessarily have to make the image that specific size because the website is going to do that for you. However, you do need to pay attention to how your image is cropped so that it can look the best in that resizer. Can you upload an image that is the specific size that's being uploaded for that? Absolutely, you can. But the idea is to save you that time of making it exact and just learning how to crop an image so that when you upload it, it works. And that would be also for, I know on some websites, if you upload a thumbnail image for news stories, for example, same thing. The image is going to be resized and scaled, cropped for you in the system. And that just makes everything look nice and an alignment. And that's why those things are done. So let's talk about that for a second. When you're going to place an automatically sized image, we'll use IPDE first. And for crop, we're going to go through an example of this, but you're going to want to kind of, eyeball it, basically. You want to make sure that it's going to fit the space that is approximately what you're uploading for. So again, you want to make sure that the image max is 2000 pixels, and usually, like, if you're going to upload a profile picture, you know, if it's 500 pixels on the longest side, generally. So just, again, similar rules of thumb, but we have that step 2 where we're going to crop and eyeball that crop. So let's look at an example. Here we have a picture of a person. So let's say they, sometimes people provide you images of all kinds, right? They might have like a full body picture that they send you and say, use this for my profile. And then you're like, you put it in as a profile and then they look really tiny, right? So in this case, we've cropped it 3 different ways, A, B, and C. So if you're going to look at these 3 images, which one would you think is the best eyeball crop for a people profile picture? Would it be A, B, or C? I'll give you a second. You can put it in your head. Which one would you choose and why? Okay. In this case, I'd recommend C. And so the first thing people might say is, and why would you choose C? Because A obviously shows the picture, the face much better, and all those things. Well, if we're not cropping the image to the specific size that it needs to be, there's a good chance that since we're cropping very close to the top of that woman's head, that maybe part of her head would get cropped off. And so you can actually see that happening in the example that I provided on the left, where you can see that some of these folks' heads are cropped off a little bit, and that's because the crop was a little too close when they added it to the website. And so we want to make sure that we don't have a super tall, crop like B, because It could work, but chances are it's not going to be the way that you would exactly prefer, given that it could crop the top and bottom off, and then maybe again, it's going to kind of cut the middle of the person instead of where you want to see the face. Next, let's talk about examples of specifically sized images like banners. So here's a couple of examples of banners that have been uploaded to the website. Banners generally, there are specific sizes indicated in the help text. So after you determine the image to use, you're going to want to check the help text for your editor to see the dimensions that that banner is recommended to be. Banners, I generally do recommend trying to resize to the specific size, mainly because you want to make certain that people's heads aren't getting cut off and the image isn't looking very strange when it's uploaded. So I would recommend just going into your help text of your editor to see what the recommendation for image size, banner size is. Then you can open the image in an editing tool, and again, you could eyeball the initial crop because you want to make sure, like for example, sometimes the images are huge. They're, again, they're 5,000 pixels. If they're super big and it's a vertical image that someone has given you for a horizontal banner, I would not resize to 2,000 pixels until you've like cropped it at the horizontal, because chances are you're going to need those pixels, like, because you're probably going to be not taking very much of that image. How do I explain that? In a way that you want to make sure your image isn't too small, okay? If you make the longest size, like the height at 2,000 pixels, then, and you have a vertical image and you're trying to add it to a banner, chances are that the horizontal width is going to be less than 2,000 pixels, and the max and the size you want for a banner might be 2,000 pixels. And so now you're stuck because the longest you can crop is less than 2,000 pixels. So those are things to pay attention to, but that is an advanced sort of thing. Generally, make sure that you have a horizontal picture for a horizontal banner. If someone gives you a vertical picture for a horizontal banner, chances are it's not going to work well. You also want to use the image editing tool to adjust the size to match the specifications, which we're going to walk through here. So there are some tools out there that are free. Actually, I just learned that Creative Cloud Express is free to be used. So if you don't have Adobe Creative Cloud and that your area hasn't purchased that, or you haven't purchased that through Iowa State, it's fine. You can still use Creative Cloud Express for free. You just have to log in, and you have many of the options that all of the options that you would need to be able to crop and edit an image. Same for Canva. The free version of Canva, not to be confused with Canvas. Canva is an editing tool that you can use. And as I demonstrated earlier in the presentation, you can use what's called Preview on Mac or Paint on PC also to resize images. And since we've done Preview and Paint quite a bit, I'm going to jump in and show you how to use these Creative Cloud Express and Canva options. To get to Adobe Express, you can go to adobe.com/express, and it will land you on a page that looks like this, and you can click the Start for Free button and get going on using this tool. So let's resize a banner image. In this example, I've opened Creative Cloud Express. It gives you some default options and things, and it looks kind of scary. There's a lot here, but as you'll see in the video, it's actually pretty easy to use. We know in this example that we want our banner image to be 1180 by 330 pixels. So let's watch and see how to do that. In Creative Cloud Express, you can just click Custom Size Graphic and go ahead and put in your dimensions right away. I recommend this as the easiest way to size and scale your image. So your main space that you're going to upload the photo to is already the predetermined size that you need it to be. Then you can select the photo. I think I had to look at this as a list to find the right one. Now, when the photo is added, it's going to add it, even though it's larger pixels, it's going to add it so it fits in the space. So now you can actually scale it and crop it. So you can move the picture within the dimensions that you've created, so you know that it fits within the banner size. So you'll want to make sure that no one's head's getting cut off and it looks like a pretty good option. I do recommend JPEG. So if you're going to upload an image for the website, JPEG is a good option for that. Next, we're going to look at Canva. So Canva looks like this. I found it easiest to go to canva.com/q/pro. It's up to you. If you go to canva.com, you'll eventually get there in the same way. But you can just click Get Canva Free and get started. This is what Canva looks like inside the tool. Again, very similar to the previous option. So in Canva, we're going to resize the same image so you can see the difference. Essentially, you go to Create Design in the upper right, and then at the bottom, click the Add Custom and go ahead and add your custom dimensions. And then from here, again, it's very similar, but you need to upload the image first. So I know I already uploaded it, but we're going to upload it again so that you can see how to do that. And then it will show up in your image library and you can click on it. And from there, do the same thing that we did with the other tool where you can resize the image and drag it around. I just love being able to drag it and place it. And from that point, in this option, click Share and Download. And then you can choose JPEG as a download size. Okay, I'll stop that. And with that, we made it in like just about exactly 20 minutes. So I know it was quick, but if there's any questions, I am more than happy to answer them. All right. Perfect. How to find how many pixels a photo is. Yes. So generally, if you are trying to figure out the pixel dimension, like the size of a photo, you can see in this example that when you open the photo in Preview, for example, like Preview or Paint, I'm sure does the same thing, and you select on it, you can hit Adjust Size, and here you can see the size that the image currently is. You could also open it in Photoshop or, do something a little more extreme than that. But generally, that's how you can tell how big a photo is pretty easily. And then, yep, Christy's telling us that Canva is not accessible. So Canva itself, I think is what you mean is not accessible. Is that what you're referring to? Like, if you were going to edit in Canva, it may not be accessible, but how do you mean that? I'm not sure what you mean, because if the output is a JPEG and it's an image, I'm not sure how that's not accessible, but I think we should look into that if there's something. Okay, so if there isn't anything on the image. Oh, well, I think that's like for any, so you want to make sure that in these tools, like if you're going to go into these tools, you can see it's pretty fun and crazy, and they have all these different options that you can use, and you can place like text on top of images and all sorts of things. And I would encourage you to not go too, busy on that. Basically, for accessibility reasons, number one, branding reasons, number 2. We want to make sure that when you upload the image that you're using alt text. So whatever text you put on the image or the graphic, like you make sure that you put exactly that in the alt text. And there are specific fonts, remember, that we need to use for Iowa State, and there are specific colors that we should use for Iowa State. So in this demo, I'm demoing specifically on how to resize an image. We're not adding any text, we're not adding any graphics, we're not adding anything extra to it. So I just want to make sure that's clear. When you use these tools, make sure that you use them just, you know, to resize. And mostly that's what most of us do, I think, is to kind of use these tools to really resize and crop images. But I believe both at Extension and in the Calzone web team, there are ways to place text on top of a banner. So if you're going to place text on top of a banner or an image, we have tools that do that. So if you look at these examples, there's even different options you can choose. So you could choose if you want it to be a red caption, or if you want it to be more of a lighter color caption. We even have a darker colored caption. It's also it's not specific to, it doesn't have to be in the bottom right corner. It could be in the middle, it could be in the bottom center, it could be in the top left, it could be in the top right, it could be in all these different places that work best for your image. So I would recommend that, like in these examples, upcrop and then use the tool, use the editor to put the text in. So awesome. Awesome. Are there any other questions? All right. I don't see any. So with that, I hope this was helpful. The recording will be online, and if you have any other topic ideas or things that you would like for us to discuss or present in these webinars, we're happy to do so. This webinar, I will note, we did stray a little bit off of Site Improve. Generally, these have been geared towards Site Improve in the last year, but we've had a lot of questions about images and image sizes and how to pick them and use them. So I really hope that this can help in your editing journey. So thank you all very much. Appreciate you. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.